According to the Center for Disease Control, in 2010, drug overdoses were responsible for 38,329 deaths. In the same year, 25,692 deaths were alcohol related causes. So, how many deaths was marijuana responsible for? None. Hello, my name is Leonardo Guerrero, and of course, by now you know my speech will be about the legalization of marijuana. But by now you've probably heard this debate hundreds, if not thousands, of different times. But there's a reason that this topic is such a hot topic. It's because I and thousands of other marijuana activists believe that it can be helpful for millions of people in the United States. And there are three main reasons why I believe it should be legalized. Firstly, it's not harmful. Second, it can be helpful to people with certain illnesses. And third, it can give America an economical boost. So, how is it not harmful, you say? Well, let's go back to that statistic from the CDC I gave earlier. Why have there been no marijuana overdoses ever recorded? Well, according to a 1998 administrative law hearing, to induce death, a marijuana smoker has to consume 20,000 to 40,000 times as much marijuana contained in one marijuana cigarette. That means you would have to consume 1,500 pounds of marijuana in 15 minutes just to induce death. So why do people say it can be dangerous? Well, some say it can be addictive. So in a large scale study survey published in 1994, epidemiologist James Anthony, who was then with the National Institute of Drug Abuse, asked 8,000 people between the ages of 15 and 64 about their marijuana use. Of the ones who tried marijuana at least once, about 9% of those fit a diagnosis of dependence. The same figure for alcohol was 15%, and for nicotine, it was 32%. So, although there is a slight chance that marijuana can be addictive to some people, it is far less addictive than many legal drugs available to the public. So, my question is, why do people believe marijuana is harmful? On the contrary, I believe that it can be helpful. Not for everyone, but for people with illnesses, certain illnesses and ailments. In trials conducted by the National Cancer Institute, two FDA-approved cannabis-based drugs helped reduce chemotherapy-related nausea and vomiting in cancer patients. Marijuana can also help people by stimulating appetite. So, in another study conducted by the National Cancer Institute, it found that patients with HIV/AIDS and weight loss that took dronabinol had increased appetite compared to patients who took placebo. This drug is another form of marijuana. And finally, in 2004, a study was conducted by the American Cancer Society on people with multiple sclerosis who took cannabis. They found that people who took cannabis in a liquid extract form had decreased muscle spasms and shakings. These are illnesses that afflict thousands of people in the United States every year. These are just a few examples of the illnesses that cannabis can help aid. So aside from helping people with illnesses and just the whole health aspect of our society, it can also help with the economical aspect of our society. So according to a paper written by Jeffrey Miron, a Harvard economist, if the government legalized marijuana, it would save $7.7 billion annually by not having to enforce the current prohibition of marijuana. That's billion with a B. And they would also save an additional $6 billion a year if the government taxed marijuana at rates similar to alcohol and tobacco. That's a total of $13.7 billion that the American government is letting go to waste. So let's look at Colorado. Colorado became the first state ever to regulate the cultivation, the manufacture, and the sale of marijuana at a state level. In the first 10 months, legal marijuana sales resulted in $40 million in tax revenue. These numbers are just one state. Imagine if the entire country benefited from the legalization of just one drug. I believe marijuana hasn't been legalized yet because of fear. Basically, fear that of what would happen to our country. What would happen if anyone could just walk into any store and just buy marijuana? But we can't let fear of the unknown blind us from the benefits our country can reap. Many people have been led to believe that marijuana is harmful and dangerous and a dangerous drug. But with the correct regulation and distribution of this drug, marijuana can do way more good than it could do harm. Thank you.